Welcome back. I'm Roxy Condry, and here with our amazing Rain Residential team, we're excited to dive into the second Roundtable podcast. In this series, we're getting more personal, sharing why so many of us chose to move to Ocean Springs and why we decided to stay. You've probably heard people say that Ocean Springs is special, but what exactly makes it stand out? Is it the artsy laid-back vibe, the rich coastal culture, or those breathtaking sunsets along the coast? Over the next few minutes, we'll be gathering around the table to share our stories, what brought us here, the hidden gems we've discovered, and what keeps us calling this place home. Plus, we'll be answering one of the questions we get asked most often by our clients. What is it really like to live in Ocean Springs? So whether you're curious about the community, the schools, local businesses, or just everyday lifestyle here, we're sharing our firsthand experiences and insights. Whether you're new to town, considering to move, or have been a longtime resident, we really do hope these conversations resonate with you and even may inspire you to see Ocean Springs through a new lens. So grab your favorite drink, pull up a chair, join us as we explore what makes this town so unique, one story at a time. So Kristen, I have always found your story really interesting. I mean, I definitely think it was a leap of faith to move to an area all the way from Michigan to the coast, completely sight unseen. So please dive in. Let's hear a little bit about your story. I'd like to kind of also know your first impression. Like, what did you think when you got to the coast?
So I'm from Michigan originally and grew up in Ann Arbor. And my husband, then boyfriend, was working offshore. And so he had the option to basically live within 12 hours of where they were going off on the boat. And so he drove from Houston to Pensacola in search for a town that could convince me to leave my friends and family and come to the South. And so he called me and he said, I found the cutest little town called Ocean Springs, Mississippi. Of course, I've never heard of it. So I'm Googling it and I'm like, oh, wait, this is right in the water. This seems so cool. And yeah, total leap of faith. Just packed it up, didn't even have a lease signed, drove down, and we're driving down. And the first thing we do is we go down Washington Avenue where there's like the oak canopy and the Spanish moss. And it was fall. It was actually Halloween, and which is one of our favorite holidays. And we go right into downtown. It's like, oh my gosh, we've made it. Like, you nailed it. This is so cool. And being Halloween, which we love, we had packed our Halloween costumes into the front of the car. We were Peggy and Al, and pulled up in front of the grocery, and which is still one of our favorite restaurant bars to go to. Put on our costumes in the car and jumped in there and just fit in. Like, it was so fun. It was a blast. It was a good group of people. And we ended up getting second place in the costume contest, which was
Wait,
we made it. We're moving here for good.
y'all were Peggy and Al?
Yeah, Bundy. Yeah.
That is really.
We have some pictures we can put up.
Yes. Yeah, I can share a photo.
And how long was that?
That was about 13 years ago. So fell in love with it right away. And yeah, 13 years later, I mean, we've bought houses, our kids are here, and love it. Love the school system. Feel super lucky to have kids being raised in this quaint little postcard town that has the school system's good, the restaurants are amazing, it just gets better and better. So it was a random decision to move down, but I'm so thankful that we did it.
I can completely relate. I feel like our story has a lot of the same similarities. It's like that captivating oak canopy at Washington that ends in the beach is certainly something that first grabbed me. So like so many things that kept us here. I know, Jennifer, you are not from here as well, and we love to talk about Ocean Springs, but we also have, this big industry that's over the bridge with the casinos, and I think that had a little bit to do with where you kind of found the coast. Is that right?
Yeah, so we moved here also 13 years ago now.
Ooh.
I didn't realize y'all's anniversaries are the same.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, because we were expecting our first child when we moved here. My husband works in the casino industry. We were originally from New Orleans, just an hour and a half away, and never really explored the idea of living on the coast of Mississippi. It was somewhere we vacationed or visited when we were younger. And we moved around a little bit, and then when the offer came for us to move here, we didn't think much of it. We kind of came and we actually looked at 30 houses in 2 days.
Nice.
Wow. Because we thought, I know, right? It's Mary Ann Wilson, sorry. So yeah, she was great. So we looked at all of these homes, and we looked from Gulfport through Ocean Springs, and the house that we bought was the last house we saw here in Ocean Springs.
Wow.
So we just fell in love with it, and we thought we would be here just temporarily with the kind of the projection of his job and his career. And we, after about a year, I think we decided it's just the place we wanted to be, and started having, we have 2 kids now, so we wanted to raise our kids here, and we dug our heels, and we really love it. So that
And you're
kind of
still in the
landed like
same
that.
house?
We're still in the same house. So I always tell clients that move here that I feel like people want to live downtown, but there's these great options, and subdivisions are pretty big here, you know, like kind of highly coveted. We got really lucky. We live in Maurepas Landing, right across from 90, north of downtown. But we take our golf cart just right over 90, and we're downtown in a minute, you know, so we have the benefit of the sidewalks. We don't live on the water, but our neighbors across the street all live on Fort Bayou, which is beautiful. And I've really seen, you know, not only Ocean Springs grow, but our neighborhood grow. And it's really been a nice place that we're kind of stuck on. You know, we really like our kids being raised to be able to run around the neighborhood. Now they're getting older, so they can easily go downtown from where we are. So it's great.
That is great.
Can I ask a question, just to,
Absolutely.
like, a personal interest? Like, what would you say culturally difference and kind of the similarities between New Orleans and the coast, or Ocean Springs specifically?
Well, that is a good question. So I think that, you know, we really, really loved New Orleans, and being from there, a lot of people don't leave, you know, which was interesting in comparison to here. I find it is a lot of transplants, and I think that's because, and that was surprising to us, you know, that we met a lot of our friends that aren't originally from here. I think that as far as the difference, the pace of life is so much better. And we were moving from a place, we actually moved from New Orleans to St. Louis to Louisville, Kentucky, back down here. And we've gotten really lucky. I loved all those towns that we lived in. And then we got to be closer to New Orleans, and we thought maybe, you know, one day we would go back. We still have family there. And I never thought I would say it, but I love the idea of living here and being able to visit New Orleans. In New Orleans, and combined, you know, compared to the other places we lived, my husband's commute, first of all, was anywhere from like 20 minutes to 45 minutes. Now it's exactly 7 minutes door to door. So it's a big lifestyle change, you know, I mean, and he works a lot of hours, so that's a big deal to us, you know, so I think that's that. I can't say this like on the record. I can look at the police records or what, you know, whatnot, but there's no crime here.
Yeah.
We don't have to lock our doors. My dad comes to visit from New Orleans, and he says, "What is this, Mayberry? You know, like, you don't lock your doors?" And I'm like, I lock my doors when I think about it, for sure. But like, honestly, it's a weight off of our shoulders to not have to have that worry of the daily grind of getting to and from work, and, you know, being safe in our own neighborhoods and walking around downtown and having our kids feel that's safety.
Yeah. I think too, I mean, you kind of talked about when you're working with clients, and I think we all have the same message to a lot of clients, which is it's really easy to live here.
It's easy living.
There's no big traffic. It's funny you said, like, you know exactly how long Jonathan is I know exactly how many minutes leaving my house to getting to work is 9 minutes.
Right.
And it's funny, like, I know I could get to your house in 7. Like, it's so funny how we can count our commute in minutes. Like, that's really lucky.
And counting that
And
is
it
big
is
part
a
of your
slower
life, you know?
lifestyle. Like, there's a ton of things to do, but it's pretty low key also. I mean, it's like that coast lifestyle.
I just went home to unlock my wife's car. His keys were in it and made it back in time to do this, you know, because it's a minute away.
It's
So
easy.
Well, I never dreamed I would be able to walk to work. And, you know, I'm thrilled that we were in Gulf Hills before and moved to downtown. And I do really take for granted, I think sometimes how easy the lifestyle is
Yeah.
here, because it is true. Like, I can walk to work, my kids come home and run down the streets, and they've got all their little friend neighbors, and I'm not worried about them. We have like a sense of community of mothers that like keep up with each other's
Yeah.
kids.
Yeah.
And there's things like that that you do forget when I have family. I have family in town right now from Florida even. And yeah, those little things you get used to and realize that they're just not the same in other places. I don't lock my doors. My car, it's not locked. I mean, it's probably bad to put online.
I know,
but,
So the world
it
is.
certainly
What's your
is.
address again?
I know, exactly. But I think that, there's all these natural attributes that bring people here, and it's a beautiful place to live. But the sense of community and the slow pace is certainly something that you become used to, and it's hard to move away from.
I agree.
I know you came from like a really big city. So how was that contrast moving from a big city to Ocean Springs?
Yeah, at first it was a little scary to me. I lived in Denver, Colorado, and Tampa, Florida for most of my life. So moving to Mississippi for work, I thought would just be a temporary situation.
Yes.
And came in 2004 and never left. So, we did the same thing as you. We kind of looked all over the coast, and I just fell in love with Ocean Springs, and we purchased a house here, and now we're in our third house since we've been here, and raised our son here, and just love the community, love everything about it. And there's so many things, even outside of Ocean Springs, that are great to have as options. The casinos being so close, they have all the entertainment, the dining, things that, I thought I would miss from being in a big city, and we still have all
Yeah,
that. So
pretty nice.
I love it.
Yeah.
Did your kids go to Ocean Springs?
Yes, my daughter we moved here when she was in middle school. So she came in a little bit later than our son was 1.5 when we moved here. So he's started and finished in OS and is now at State in Mississippi
Yes.
doing engineering.
My 7-year-old was sleeping in a shirt last night that was, your husband was the coach and Ethan was on the team.
Oh, yeah.
9-year-old All-Stars from,
Yeah,
I don't know, that would have been 12 years ago
Yeah.
right now. So I
Yeah.
thought that was pretty funny. I just saw their names on that this morning.
yeah, ours, yeah. Ethan,
Another
Nathan.
benefit of living in a small town.
Yeah.
Everybody knows everybody.
Yeah.
That's the coast though, I think.
And it's good. Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Yes, that's right.
They grew up together, and that is a great thing. One of the reasons why I didn't want to ever leave, because once our son started school, I wanted him to finish here, and there was such a close, everyone watching out for each other, and the school, everything, Young Life, everything that he was a part of really shaped him to be a great human.
And I think too, we've kind of talked about like the small town feel, but there's like, not to be mistaken, when there's still so many opportunities and so much growth, like for young professionals, it's booming. You've got, developments going on downtown, new restaurants coming in, the hospital system's growing, Keesler Air Force Base is in Biloxi. And so we have the small town feel, but I think we have so much opportunity for people like in every kind of industry here.
Yeah, we've grown so much in 13
Yeah.
years. You ask me what it's like to go
Chevron,
back to
you know.
New Orleans or the difference. Now all of our New Orleans friends are visiting us here.
Yeah.
And we didn't talk about, like, when we moved here, we didn't have kids, and it was not on our radar for looking into the school district. I did it because I was in real estate, but not because of my personal, situation. And the school system here is incredible. And I think that's something we, have all benefited from. And with Ocean Springs continuing to win every, year best in state, things like that is certainly a great bonus. But in addition, I found, I was from a pretty small town too, and my kids like Gentry's in coding, Ruby's in drama club. There's all these additional opportunities for them to do that are outside of their normal curriculum that I never was introduced to.
And my kids are in ice hockey.
Yes.
Like,
Okay, so
there's
small
just
town and
opportunity.
that
Yeah.
is really unique, I think. And I think those are the things like we talk about when we're saying like we moved here for one reason, but we stayed for a totally different one. That has been a big part of why we've stayed, is
Yeah.
because there is so many different advantages, not only for us, but for our kids.
In the school district, like athletics, academics, everything, the opportunities they have are as good as anywhere in the state, I think.
Yeah.
So,
And you're originally from Biloxi. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that? Because
Yeah.
Biloxi has a whole different offering. So I know you can speak about Biloxi as well as kind of how you ended up over in Ocean Springs too.
Yeah, just in general, the coast, and piggybacking off a lot of what was said. My, I guess, story of moving here isn't that interesting because I mean, I probably grew up 5 miles from where I'm sitting right now. But I grew up in Biloxi, and I went to elementary school in Gulfport and then high school in Pass Christian. So I was always kind of going the other direction, I guess, from West Biloxi to west, and never really spent much time in Ocean Springs as really a younger person. But, kind of similar to the way you came here, I am here essentially because my dad, who was from Louisville, Kentucky, New Albany, Indiana area, got a job at Keesler Hospital back in, I don't know, that was the 60s or right before Camille. So,
I didn't realize that.
yeah, and that's, we meet so many people, I think, that are brought here even now. And that was
Through Keesler,
however many
absolutely.
years, 50, 60 years ago. So it's just really interesting that Keesler still drives that, and probably creates so many that, you have so many people here that are 4 to 6 years at a time. But that's still really interesting to me. But then just, growing up in Biloxi, I think they made, he made a home here then, and I've stayed on the coast besides time at Ole Miss basically my entire life. And, originally, I guess trying to think of the best way to describe Biloxi. I mean, it's a very eclectic city. It's very, I guess, culturally diverse, completely different than the rest of Mississippi, which is something you really come to understand when you go to college at the University of Mississippi. Like, the coast is its own animal, and it's a completely different lifestyle. And that's why I asked you about New Orleans too, because I, grew up spending a lot of time over there, and I felt like it was so similar. And then when I went to other parts of the state, it was so massively different. So, but even coming back in my young adult life, I mean, I've lived in Biloxi, I've lived in Gulfport, I've lived in Pass Christian, and I settled in Ocean Springs. And I think we were talking about, like, it's a small town, but it has the opportunity or provides all these opportunities for you that you don't necessarily get in like a town like Pass Christian. Gulfport and Biloxi, they offer maybe a bit of a bigger perspective or lifestyle, but I'm addicted to the fact that I live a minute away from here, and I'm very selfish with my time now. And I think that comes from spending so much time, running the whole coast and then settling over here and realizing you get everything here. You still have I guess, all the positives of what all of those industries and things that are in Biloxi, the casino industry is brought in, but you don't necessarily have to live with much of the downside of that. I mean, I think I love everything about our town, especially where this section of our town, like being able to live in it, it's like a village. And that's what really made me settle here, and very happily. And I really can't really envision me moving out of a very small area that I'm located in now.
Golf cart district.
Yeah, pretty
close to
much.
town.
I mean,
Another thing that we're big boaters.
Yes.
So we love that we have access to all the
Water.
water, like going any time of year. We'll hop on and throw a jacket on in December and run the boat around and go eat at a restaurant on the water, or
It's such a part of it.
run out to Horn Island. Everything's beautiful out there. So that's a big part of it too. If you love boating, it's so easy here to.
and I think it's something we take for granted because you don't
Absolutely.
think about it being, but it's such a regular part of life.
Part of your life.
Yeah.
And really, right after college, I lived in Phoenix for a year, and I remember never being able to know which way was north and south.
Yeah.
Because there was no water, and there's a big loop that goes around it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I could never figure out.
Yeah.
Whereas here, I'm like, okay, the Gulf is that way.
South.
I know where the Gulf is,
Yeah.
so I can
South.
navigate off of that. But that was, I mean, I swear I stayed confused for like 9 months out there.
Fair.
Yeah, we always know where south is.
Something you said, and I think it is worth saying again or bringing up. I'm from North Louisiana and went to high school in Vicksburg, Mississippi. So I kind of sized up the whole state. And so Mississippi to me was kind of that area. And so whenever we were in Florida and we came over for work as well, nothing against it. I just didn't think that's where I wanted to spend the rest of my life. Like the state of Mississippi didn't seem to be, it wasn't on my radar. And like, this is it. This is where we're going to stay. And so we came over with the idea that we'd be here for 1 year and discovered exactly what you said, Alan, is like the coast is really different. It is a completely different, it's almost like a different state. And what we found here, we were really surprised. We got here and found all these things that we liked looking at. You know, we thought it was beautiful. We loved having the water right there, and there was opportunities and things like that. And then, you know, stayed because of all the sense of community. But then just the art scene was surprising to me. That was something that I didn't expect coming into Mississippi, and to find that so like built into the thread of what Ocean Springs is has really always, I found, like super unique for our area. The Walter Anderson Museum, how the family has continued that theme, and how you get these incredible festivals, and we get to go to, you know, you have Peter Anderson Festival we just did, but some of the ones that I'm even getting more out of, I feel like now, are the ones that are like Silent Light, where they're doing like silent discos and doing these things are extremely creative. I think things that you don't find sometimes unless you're in a huge city. Like, where do you go to a silent disco and see a light show and have like all these performers?
Yeah.
You know, those are things that we're getting right here in Ocean Springs. We have these concerts that are incredible in the community center from people that are, you know, really major performers. And so I found that those are the things that always continue to surprise me about Ocean Springs and continue to like make me excited that I live here. And then now getting to see my kids grow up and like be on the water and experience the harbor and get out on kayaks after school. And now with the oyster farming coming back, and then learning how that whole industry works, and having friends that are in it and doing oyster farming right off of the coast. You know, we had family that just popped in, and Ted went and grabbed a sack of oysters. We grabbed shrimp off of the boat. We know all the people, and it's just really one of those things that like you go down there and you get this experience, and sometimes you kind of have to like look around and realize like this is my life. And it's really great, and I'm happy that we by accident landed here, you know.
And I think that's,
Same.
it's kind of important to note that the culture that I think each of the cities on the coast offers something somewhat unique that embraces the other ones around them.
Mm-hmm.
But it really is, I mean, the culture shifts, what, 7 miles north?
Yeah.
I mean, and it really, not that it's different everywhere, but the actual shift is really that close. Like, it's really that tight of a window that is so different. Whereas I would say, you know, Wiggins, Mississippi has more in common with 200 miles north of it than it does with us in some cases. And that's kind of really telling, even though you can run up there in 20 minutes.
And something we haven't talked about, and I think we should, because, you know, real estate company, is just the cost of living. I know that, you know, downtown has increased over the last few years, but when you compare it to other places, you know, it's still really affordable. And when I still talk with, I know my family that's in other parts of the country, and I would think like where you came from, I mean, Denver is, who knows how much a square foot. But, you know, my friends that moved to those areas, if they can't spend $1 million, they can't really buy a home. And so, I do think we're still, you know, a lot of value in that aspect of it too. So,
And there's also, you know, when you're looking at moving to Ocean Springs, you can be downtown, you can be in the subdivisions, you can buy a new build. There's still like the classic Ocean Springs cottages for sale downtown. There's still lots to build on. So
Yeah.
you have there's condos, luxury condos. So there's every option that fits whatever lifestyle you're looking for here in town.
it really is a good point, because yeah, young professionals, you can still get a $200,000 condo in downtown if that's what you're, you know, going for. But if you want to move, you know, a couple miles out of downtown, you can get a really great price on a house. Downtown homes have gone up, but I mean, it's just a supply and demand thing. And I mean, it's still, I think, a lot lower than what you're seeing in other parts of the country. So it's still a great opportunity for, you know, what you're looking for.
Yeah.
And there's no bad address. I mean, I think that's the thing about the
That's a great
downtown
point.
area. Like it's just expanded. I mean, even in really the last decade, I think downtown went from, you know, what East Ocean Springs was Pine Drive at one time.
Yes.
You know, and now it just keeps going. And
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at like where the golf cart district extends to, I would say, you know, you're all the way to Halstead and further out, where
Yep.
that property is just gives you all of the same lifestyle that you have just living.
And we've touched on that, but for people that don't know, like the golf cart district really has transformed, I think, the way that we live. I know Ted used the golf cart for like 6 months as his primary vehicle for a period of time. And that's fine, because like everywhere we go is pretty much in the district. And so I think, you know, what we mean by that is like it truly is a method of transportation. You don't have to get in a car, which is pretty awesome.
I think it's the golf carts coming online and like COVID happening, everybody making a golf cart
Everyone.
COVID purchase. you
Yes.
know?
Yeah.
So,
Yes.
then all of a sudden we had a couple hundred of them running around town, and that's happened in other cities along the coast. You know,
Yes.
there are a few other places
That are picking it up. I
So-
agree.
Yeah.
I agree. Absolutely. Well, anything else anyone wants to add?
I think we
I'll
covered
just add
it.
that I think I tell my clients have been, over the last 11 years or so, have always been new, retirees or young families. And I just think that's a pretty amazing demographic. And now, especially since COVID, we're seeing a lot of people who we always have seen people who vacation here and decide they want to stay here. So we're seeing that market expand. We're seeing more young professionals move here. And I think there's a lot of room for growth. Like, look at Pascagoula's downtown. It's as lovely as ours almost, you know? I think, you know, I'm partial, but it's beautiful. And so we have a
Absolutely.
lot of room to expand all along the coast. And I think people are coming here for that and staying. And I'm excited to see my kids maybe come back. You know, that wasn't maybe before something I thought we would do.
Right.
But I hope to see my kids go to school, of course, but come back here and find a job and contribute to the growth of the community.
And I'll back on that. I've just been talking to people 21 to like 25 and just really trying to get their temperature of everything that's happening and what's going on. And from every conversation I've had, and this with multiple people, they're all very excited about everything that's happening here, which I think is really telling because sometimes you just get the feelings or the opinions of people who have been here forever and not
And
the
in
people
your
that are
world,
really
yeah.
coming back here that are going to be, it's actually, it's really their town at this point,
Right.
or it will be.
Right.
So
That's
I
right.
just think that's really exciting when kind of vetting different ideas and always getting like really positive feedback.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think
Agree.
everything is, headed in a good direction for being able to recruit talent because I always said Kiesler, I thought was one of our best recruiters of talent because a lot of my friends that I grew up with, that I went to school with, maybe in Gulfport or something, that became physicians, moved off.
Yeah.
But the ones that I'm friends with are ones that were brought here by Kiesler and then stayed.
Yeah.
So I think we need to really make sure, what was it? There was a Mississippi brain drain for a long time. We
Right.
need to recruit and keep all of our talented people.
Yes.
And, with
Get them back.
the things that are going on the coast, I think we have a much better job of doing that now than even 20, 30 years ago. So
Yeah.
it's exciting.
I agree with that.
Totally agree. Well, thank you all for tuning in. We hope that you subscribe to the podcast. And if you have any comments, we'd love to hear from you as well. If you would like to give us an idea on what you want to hear about next, we want to have this podcast for all of you. So please tune in and we'll hope to see you next time. Thanks.